I am so excited about this. I have been wanting these for years.
Hi everyone, Anita here again. This morning I've spent a couple of hours back at a favourite spot doing some sketching and painting. I've been working in this stone paper sketchbook that I've showed you before. The paper is very thin and transparent, but I quite like the feel of the surface. It's very smooth. And today I was sketching in it just with a beige coloured Posca marker. And again, just trying to get down some realistic sort of rock shapes so that when I'm working on some of my playscape paintings in the studio, I've got something to refer back to so that my rocks don't all turn into blobs that look the same. These are just an outline of the basic geometric shape that I did really quickly just to remind myself, you know, some rocks look a bit more triangular, some look a bit more rectangular and so on, as well as capturing more of the contours and also the same with trees. We all think we know what a tree looks like and can draw one without too much thought, but they can all start to look the same if we forget that all trees are different. It's good observation practice as well, which always helps as an artist. So after I'd loosened up a bit doing some sketching in that little scrappy sketchbook, I got out my, this is a A4 sized Winsor & Newton soft cover watercolour journal. They're not cheap, but they're beautiful to work in. The paper doesn't crinkle up, and obviously, as it says, it's designed for watercolour, and I do use a lot of water-based media, even though I'm not a watercolourist. So I do like working in this paper. So today I was out, it was beautiful. What I was trying to capture here, really I think of this as a sketch, even though it's mostly done in paint. I just could see a really beautiful composition. The water was very dark back here visually, and then there was this really white looking sand, and that contrast really drew my eye and sort of made it the focal point of the composition. But then there were some interesting shapes and colour variations that I can play with in terms of turning this into a finished painting. So it was just about getting down some of my thoughts and ideas that it sparked, capturing some of the colours and marks that I might want to use if I make a painting about this place. And similar here, you might recognise this a little bit. It's kind of similar. It's the same place that I was at, and I just was trying to also capture a little bit more information and play around with a different composition.
Okay. Oh. I am so excited about this. I have been wanting these for years. Fantastic. Okay, I've got some Neocolor I's on their way, and these are the Neocolor IIs. So the difference, if you don't know, is the Neocolor I's are a wax crayon, artist quality wax crayon that are not water soluble, and the Neocolor IIs are artist quality wax crayons that are water soluble. Obviously, with so much excitement, I need to try these out. So I've just grabbed another of my sketchbooks where I tend to do colour swatching. If you can see, there's some colour swatching. There's some colour swatching. There. Ah, so pretty. So pretty. Oh, what's inside? Oh, how cool. Alrighty, change of plan. Change of plan, everyone. Here we go. Look at this. How good is that? Color chart. I love it. I have never come across that before. Guess I can cut that bit off too. Okay. Apparently we don't need the sketchbook. Sorry, just a little bit excited. Oh, what's happened here? Looks like one of them went a little bit... that's a shame. Never mind. That is okay. I am going to make sure they're all here though. 28, 29, 30. Yes, they're all here. Okay, so I love that saying, broken crayons still colour. It's very true, isn't it? Certainly can relate to being a broken crayon, that is for sure. Alrighty, so that colour, that's lemon yellow, very pretty. Okay, so it's a cool yellow. And then the next one, I'm assuming we're going, looks like we're going from left to right here. So the next one is just called yellow. And it's a slightly warmer yellow than the lemon. Slightly warmer. I'd call it a mid yellow, like a primary yellow, which will be a very useful colour for sure. Next one is orange. I love that this comes with a colour swatch. Okay, nice surprise. I am delighted. All right, this is salmon. It's a warm pink. Okay, vermilion. Oh, these are beautiful. Like the coverage and the pigment load. This is what you pay for, as opposed to kids' crayons. You know, often you would normally expect to see more of the white showing through as the paper, you know, only grabs bits and pieces of the wax, but these are luscious. This is scarlet red. Scarlet is a warm red, although putting it next to the vermilion, it looks like a cool red, but when we move on to carmine, we'll see that this is relatively warmer than the carmine. Carmine Lake. Actually, I don't know if it's carmine or carmine, but I've always said carmine. There we go. Lovely cool red. Cool reds. Oh, cool red. Favorite color of mine. As far as red goes. As far as reds go, I love the cools. Beautiful. Okay. The next one, pink rose. Yep. Pink. Oh, yes. Look at that. Ah. It's almost like drawing with a lip pencil. They're not as soft as a lipstick, but certainly like a lip pencil. Oh, look at that. That's called purple. I better make sure I've got the right one. Yep, purple. It's a very pinky purple. It's like a magenta purple. Oh, I'm really impressed how thick and luscious these colours. Really impressed how rich these are in their consistency and their colour. These are gorgeous. I've never used a wax crayon like this before. Okay, that was lilac. purple, lilac, and now this one is violet. Actually, the violet and lilac, visually, at least in this light, they're quite similar. The violet definitely is cooler, leans more towards blue, whereas the lilac leans more towards pink, a bit of a warmer purple. Okay, this should be periwinkle, yes. Periwinkle blue. Oh, gorgeous. I love that. It's a purpley blue. Lovely. All right, ultramarine. Oh, there. Ultramarine. Ultramarine is a warm blue and it does amazing things to your eyes. It's vivid and deep. Ah, beautiful. Gorgeous. Okay. Light blue, this one should be, yep, light blue. Light blue. They didn't think too hard about naming this one, did they? It could be quite a nice sky colour on a beautiful, clear, sunny day. This one, cobalt blue. You know, cobalt blue is not a colour I've really worked with. I don't believe I've ever owned a cobalt blue paint or any art material in cobalt blue. It's kind of similar to cerulean. I've certainly used cerulean. I don't know if they're generally similar, but it's a greeny blue. It's a cool blue. Cool blue for sure. And yeah, heading into turquoise territory, which was where we are now. This is a light turquoise. Gorgeous. Oh, they're stunning. Absolutely not a sponsored video in any way, shape or form. I just like to share my practice with other artists. I always struggled. I felt like without the guidance that I'd had at school, I just didn't know what to draw, what to paint. I felt like I needed to have it all figured out before I started, that I needed to sketch out my idea and then I needed to paint it, and when I finished it had to look exactly like I had wanted it to from the beginning. There was no room for, you know, changing direction or just letting things develop and making art the way I do now, where it's an adventure. I usually don't have a clue what something is going to turn out looking like. I just focus on the experience and let the results emerge. And sure, I guide them and I use artistic principles to do that, but I try to work very expressively and intuitively. And so really, I would say what I struggled with was not so much techniques. I can learn those. I started out with a decent set of drawing and painting skills that I learned at school as a foundation. Of course, we can always get better. But what I really struggled with was how to develop an authentic art practice, how to make art that looks like mine, that I did it, that doesn't look like anybody else's. And I really struggled to find content online. So I have learnt through really hard work and the generosity of other artists how to develop my own unique art practice and art style and make work that feels authentic to me, that I'm really proud of. I want to be able to help other artists do that too. I'm not trying to share how to make your work look like my work. I'm trying to share, here's how you can just have joy and consistency and integrity in an art practice. And if there's anything that I can share about how I've done that to help other people, then that's what I want to do. So I haven't told you what any of these colors are so far. This one is yellow green. You know, it's a very bright green. Sometimes you do need a touch of that, but you don't want to overdo it. This is an emerald green. This is called malachite green, which is really lovely. It's kind of a very deep turquoise green. Yeah, it's lovely. It's quite a cool green. It's cooler than the emerald. It's very nice. The Prussian blue. One of my favorite colors in any medium. And that's lovely, really gorgeous. Okay, so now I'm up to olive. It's so soft and smooth to work with. They're just beautiful. And the I know I keep going on about this, but actually what this is telling me is you can see how you can still see the outlines for the yellow, the orange, you know, these colors, you can still see the outlines, but some of the colors, when I go over the edges, you can't see them anymore, like with the lilac, the periwinkle, the olive has really good coverage. So that gives me information too. Some of these colors are a bit transparent, and that is always good to know. Okay, so this is light olive. Hello, light olive. Mwah. Much more likely to use these greens in my work than these ones, but be interesting to see when I start adding color. I love these two colors together, this Prussian blue and this olive. They look delicious. Ochre. Oh, I love a good yellow ochre. Absolutely, hands down, the workhorse on my palette. It seems like a weird color to obsess about. Here I've got, this is a little one that goes with me when I'm out and about. This is in my art kit that I take outside, and seriously, the color, I mean, I don't know, it looks like baby poo or something in the jar, but it plays beautifully with other colors. It stops my greens from getting too fake looking. It brings a beautiful warmth. It's a super color. Okay, what's this? This is called russet. Russet. Yep, it's a nice kind of rusty color, I guess. This one is just called brown. Another color they wasted no time coming up with a fancy name for. And indeed, as it says on the label, yep, that's brown. Okay, what have we got here? Umber. Is that right? Yes, umber. Okay, so it's not a burnt umber, which would be quite a warm, dark brown. This is a very grey green, a very dark grey green is what I would call this. A dark, very dark olive. It's a nice colour. I do like it. It's got a bit of subtle oomph to it. Okay, this one's called black. Looks like quite a cool black. Next one is grey. This is grey. Beautiful. That is a lovely grey. That's nice. It's a cool grey. Nice mid-tone. And here is light grey. Okay, yep, another cool grey. So when I say cool, I mean like it leans to a bluish or greenish tinge rather than a pinky or orangey grey. And white. This will be interesting. I wonder if you'll be able to see the difference between the, oh yeah, you can. Wow. Wow, lovely pigment malode. Look at that. Wonderful. Again, not sponsored, very exciting. And then I'm just going to stick that in there. This is one of my favorite paintbrushes. It's by Art Spectrum. It's Series 500R Golden Taklon. And the reason that I love it is it's a nice big, it's like those Chinese calligraphy brushes or Japanese calligraphy brushes. You can get quite large, washes, quite large brush strokes if you want a wash, but also you can work very finely with the tip. So I love this. This is one of my favorite paintbrushes. Okay, let's see. Let's go. So I think the colors I'm most interested in today, I think, and I reserve the right to change my mind, but I think I'm going to be wanting the olives. Woo, they don't like to stay. Okay, I think I'm going to be using these two olive colors and maybe the cobalt. Where's the cobalt blue? Here we are. Maybe the cobalt blue. Maybe some light blue. I might try that turquoise. Where's the turquoise? Here we go. going to try the turquoise blue for some sky and see what happens. Might be a bit dark. I don't know. Maybe I will try and paint out a scene. Okay. So I'm going to have a look. Stay open for me. Right. I'm going to start with some of this turquoise blue and kind of just see. I'm starting out really light. Really light. And then let's see what happens when I add water. I did just want a very light blue for sky, and then I guess I can still smush that around. Okay. I'm really just playing with what this does. With some water-soluble media, the water does spread the colour around, but you can still see all of the original marks. This one looks like if you work it enough, you can actually dissolve all of the marks and just get the colour, which actually I quite like that. It gives you options. But you don't lose the marks straight away. You've sort of got to work at it to lose them. So, okay, that is new information. That's good. That's good information. Okay, what am I doing next? I might play with this olive colour. Olive. So, there were these sand dunes in the background. But they've got vegetation all over them, so you can't. They just, I suppose, probably look like hills. And of course, they weren't all one solid colour. Oh, nice. I really like how that's gone down. There was a section up the top here I remember. See, this is all still fresh in my mind. This is where I might play with the white and see about blending colours together, because of course it wasn't white. Yeah. Yellow ochre, my old friend. Let's see what you do here. So, of course, the sand wasn't that colour either, but there's not a marker here that's quite the colour of the bits of sand that I could see poking through. But what happens if we come in over the top with the white? Knock back the yellow ochre a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Not bad. All right. Learning here. We're learning. Now, I kind of feel like the malachite green is going to be too much of a jewel tone sort of colour, but there were some very dark, I guess, shadows or areas which I might, yeah. It's a bit too greeny, a bit too bluey green, a bit too vibrant for what I want here. But again, I can blend it. So come back in with my olive. Olive. Look, it's not bad. It is not bad. Yeah. I think it's about blending. I don't want it to be all the same colour. I don't want all the strokes to go in the same direction. That is not me. Not my style. Okay. How can we darken that a little bit without going into that vibrant green territory? Well, I can leave the vibrant green in here, but perhaps bring in some brown. Yep, this is the one that's just called brown. All right. And then I might get my ochre again. Oh, actually, no. What about the grey? Because there was this sort of shoreline. Oh, no, that's too dark. There was this sort of shoreline in the distance that I could sort of see. And there were some trees. Oh, I might use the umber for these trees. They were a bit what would I call it? It was more like a shrub. Our Australian trees are not really, they often don't have a very defined structure, and that's probably certainly how I would describe the trees. That were quite scribbly. And then of course there were lighter sections, and this is where I'm going to come in with my light olive as well. So this is sort of mid-ground section I'm working in here. It's in front of these far off, but there was visually there was an overlap, which I'm not sure if that's clear at the moment. Put some of this olive in the under story, and then there was this like grey. We also have grey, a lot of grey foliage in Australia. I could see this grey sort of bush or shrub here. Yeah, nice. Okay. What other colours did I spy? Looks like in my sketch there's a bit of something that looks like that in there. And then there was this sand that was sort of this colour really. I'm going to leave some white. This sand here, it sort of went, I could see it here. There was this shape, right? And the sand. I might get a bit darker in there. Now, of course, this is watercolour paper. It's a cold press or a medium textured sort of a. I tend to prefer a hot press, a really nice, like smooth surface to work on. But anyway, this gives me information. It's all good. Okay. Let's see this dark olive in here as well. So back here was a really dark blue. It was a cool blue. It was really dark. I'm going to play with that Prussian, if I can find it. I'm making a mess here. Okay, Prussian blue. It was darkest sort of right back here. Even though the sky was so light, there was this really dark, there we go, back here. Especially back here, which really became my focal point. And then I'm going to put a bit more of this in. Then it became a paler greeny. I might put some of this in, see what happens. See what happens. Cobalt. Put some cobalt in. And what else could I use? Maybe some turquoise. Okay, I really don't know what I'm doing with these, but I think we're going to find out. I'll put a bit of this in. Okay, oh, some olive. I actually used some olivey colours in my water, which seemed to work quite well. Okay, all right, enough of that. I want to see what happens when I start bringing water in here. Wow, look at that pigment load. I would say, I mean, this is a Prussian blue, but really it's reading like a phthalo blue, which is a very intense blue. Phthalo is very intense. It has really strongly staining pigment, if that makes sense. You only need a tiny little bit of a phthalo in any kind of mix. I'm going to leave some little bits of white showing through. I think that can be a nice effect. Oh, look, I'm getting, probably some more of the colours that I observed today. I'm going to let some of this ochre come in where the water overlaps the sand. Let that come in and play. Right, okay. Oh yeah, it's drying, the Prussian, it's a little, drying a little darker. That's nice, I like that. Go right to the edge there. Okay, so look, I guess this is one of the things I can say about art practice is, for me anyway, the key is, what am I going to find interesting? What am I going to enjoy doing? What am I going to look forward to? And this is the sort of stuff I love, is just, I don't know, you know, let's have a look and see. I don't know what these do. I've never used them before. Let's find out. And you discover things along the way. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Okay. Gosh, that blue's very strong, isn't it, at the back there? It's okay. I'm just letting some of the colours blend. I'm not loving how dark that blue is right at that spot, which is fine. Let's just see what happens if we can lift some of it off. Might be able to lift some of it off. I've just got some wet paper towel here. Let's see if we can, oh yeah, we can lift it. We can lift it. All right. That's good to know. That is good to know. All right, the other thing that I think we probably can do is work back in a little bit. I don't want everything to blur and look the same. It's not really what I'm trying to achieve. I do want some blending though. And I think I need to make this tree more obvious. Use the umber. Yep, that's what we needed. Some of that. And some of that. Maybe even some of that. There we go. Ah, nice. Nice. All right. Look, I'm sure this would look better on a toned ground as well. It's funny, sometimes I really like working on white. A lot of artists don't. But other times, white doesn't really work for me. I think this is one of those times. I think this would look better on a coloured ground, but we're getting a sense of what these materials do. Yep. All right, I think I might leave that there. Don't particularly want to do more with that right now. Oh, maybe two. Do you know what I do? I want to, gosh, I'm so bad at not leaving things alone, and then I regret it later. But you know what? I feel like this is a bit too, don't kill it, Anita, don't kill it. You know, it's because I'm working on a white, cold pressed white ground that there's too much white showing through for my liking, which is making me want to come back here and spread the colour around a bit to fill in those little gaps. Actually, yeah, I think that does look better. Okay, I'm definitely stopping now. Definitely stopping. Putting the brakes on. So I can't wait to use these some more. Thanks so much for joining me and your interest in my art practice. If you'd like to see more of these videos, could you let me know by either subscribing or giving this video a like or even leaving a comment? Let me know what you'd like to see next time. Thanks so much. See you soon. Bye for now.